Hi, everybody. I hope you're well. Welcome to a very, very special Flashmasters live stream. I am very, very excited for this stream. It's going to be amazing. As I always do when we start off live streams, especially when we're live on YouTube, could I please ask you just in the comments to please let me know if you can hear me okay and if you can see me okay. It's always a little bit strange starting like this. It feels like you're just talking to no one. So if you could do that, I would be very grateful, please. And hopefully all will be good. No problem. Ooh. Yep, excellent. So yes, this is, as I say, it's a very, very special stream. I have a feeling, due to our guest on today's stream, the incredible Henry of Big H Studios in Nigeria, we may have people watching this stream who maybe aren't familiar with Flashmasters or myself. So firstly, welcome. We are very pleased to have you. We know that Henry is loved and adored in Nigeria and elsewhere, and we love his work as well, and that's why I'm so excited for this. So if you are watching for the first time, thank you very much for joining, and we'd like to make this stream very interactive. I've just been speaking to Henry off stream, and he's encouraging questions. So if you do have any questions at all, please do let us know in the comment section, and I will pass them on to Henry. So yes, welcome. If you're not familiar, I'm Neil Redfern. I'm a wedding photographer and have been now for 20 years. It's a long time. And I'm based in the UK. I've probably shot now 500 weddings in the UK and overseas. And I also run with my partner, Helen Williams, Flashmasters, which is obviously what you're watching here. And if you're not aware, Flashmasters is a organization, a community that we set up in September 2022, so we're coming up to our second birthday, and we aim to recognize and celebrate the best off-camera lighting photography in the world, and we do that through community, through education, by putting on live streams such as this for our members, and we also host awards as well for our members. And we're so proud of what we've achieved already in Flashmasters. It's become a great community, something that we're very, very proud of, and it's only going to grow further. As well as everything I've just mentioned, we are also incredibly proud to have a number of ambassadors who are based all around the world who help promote and talk about Flashmasters, and they are incredible. Just to run down the list here, we've got Jesse Morrow-LaPlante, Jason Vincent, Christian Cardona, Amber Henry, Arno de Brown, Tanya Parada, Rocio Vega, Scott Jones White, Ralph Segalic, Eli Bueno Chico, Andre Brown, Marlies Hartman, Ben Connolly, Joslyn Tree Woodsmith, and our newest ambassador, Henry at Big H Studio. So we're so incredibly proud and honored to have these photographers in the Flashmasters community, and Henry is an amazing part of that now. And since we've been talking with Henry, we've got nothing but love for him and his work. He's an incredible photographer and an incredible person, as you'll find out on today's stream. So yeah, we're very, very excited. So I just want to give a little bit of an introduction to Flashmasters in case you're not aware. That's all I'm going to talk about with Flashmasters, because tonight is all about Henry and his work. If you do want to find out any more, though, there are links in the description which will tell you more about Flashmasters. But without further ado, I'm going to welcome on the incredible, the amazingly talented man himself. I'm just looking at him now. He looks nervous. There is no reason for him to be nervous. I know that. Henry of Big H Studios. I think I might have muted you, Henry, so apologies. Henry, welcome.
Hello, Neil. How are you? Good. I'm so sorry. How are you? First of all, I'm a bit shy. I'm very nervous. I don't know what to expect. But good evening, everybody. Good evening, Neil. Good evening, everyone from Flashmasters. I'm so happy to be here. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're very well, thank you. I just need. I thought it might be as well nice just to talk about a little bit about how we first got to speaking to you, Henry, because I think there's a really important message in it. Firstly, let me say that you're one of the most humble and modest photographers that I have ever spoken to, and I've spoken to a lot of photographers in the industry, and the work that you're producing and the love and the following that you have, it's the other way round. We are like nervous for this stream because we're speaking to Henry, a big H. Like, that's how we feel.
Oh my-
Like, we look at your work, and I must admit, when I first saw it, I was like, wow. So what happened was, we are very proud to be hosting a workshop in September in the UK for one of our ambassadors, Christian Cardona, an incredibly talented photographer based in Colombia, and
Very
he's coming over
talented.
to the
Very talented.
yeah, exactly, yes. And he's coming over to the UK. And when we announced that on our Instagram, we had lots of messages and follows come through. And I happened to click on yours and was like, wow, who is this photographer? Because the work I was seeing was so different and so unique. I've never come across this type of images before. And I'll just share it on the screen now that I was in awe. And then to find out that you were interested in attending Christian's workshop, I think speaks volumes because I think what that shows is however good you are, and you are very, very good, you are always learning and you're always committed to learning from other photographers and developing your craft further. And I thought, what a great message that is for us all to learn because it's very easy to look at what you're producing and think, there's nowhere else for you to go, but yet you're still there, obviously wanting to improve, wanting to understand and learn from other photographers. And I thought that's absolutely amazing. So yeah, that's how I first got to be aware of your work, and then to speak to you, and you being so humble and so modest, I just thought was amazing. And really, I think speaks volumes of you as a person. So the thanks are all ours, Henry.
Thank you so much, Neil. You've paid so much glowing tribute. I don't think I deserve all the fine
Well,
words that you've used, but I am deeply, deeply grateful. You've pretty much captured everything. So this year, I'm taking some time out to just learn and relearn and have some personal development. I just came back from WPPI in Vegas, and I stumbled across your post shortly after I returned from my trip, and I was like, you know what, maybe it'd be a good opportunity to learn from Christian and attend his workshop in Manchester, 2nd and 3rd of September. So I actually just posted it on my page. I like to encourage people to also invest in themselves. So when I did the post, I really just wanted to look out for fellow Nigerian photographers who would either be in the UK or would love to travel from Nigeria down to the UK for the class. I didn't know that you guys would see it. I wasn't posting it for you guys to see it. But I got a message from you saying that would I like to be a member? And between just talking about membership and talking about ambassadorship, it was literally like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Everything was moving very fast, honestly. But I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity. I can't wait to see what we're able to do together. To be honest, I'm looking forward to it, and most importantly, I'm looking forward to my first interaction with you guys in Manchester when we come for Christian's workshop in September, God willing.
yeah, it'd be really, really nice to meet you in person. Obviously, we've only met online due to the distance, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to meeting you. So, if we can make that happen, we would love to do that. But yeah, I just thought it's just such a great message that someone as accomplished as yourself is still actively looking to learn. We can all, including me, everyone watching this, should all take a lesson from that because we should all be doing that. So
Ye-
yeah, yeah. And I say
Yes. Yeah.
when we were speaking to each other, and I was wondering if you would be interested in joining the community. We just thought what you're producing, as I say, as we'll see in tonight's stream, is very different to anything else that's been produced within the Flash Masters community, which is why we thought we wanted to give you a warmer welcome and welcome you as an ambassador because your passion is something that I think can spread far and wide. And when that passion comes into our community, we will all grow as a result of it. So yeah, we're very proud and very, very honoured when you accepted to be our ambassador.
Thank you very much. Like I said, I'm looking forward to working with you guys, and most importantly, for me, I'm really just about growing the community of photographers. I'm about working with people who have like mind and have the same mentality that I have as it concerns growing that community, impacting back into people, and I think most importantly, the bigger picture for me is just to put my country, my continent on the map in a bigger stage internationally. We have so many great artists in Nigeria. Trust me, you wouldn't even count me on top 10, and I'm not even trying to be modest. There's so much that we have to offer. There's so much that we have to show, and I'm happy to be one of the people who's going to be showing you guys the great talent that we have back home. Honestly.
And we love that because I must confess, like although I'm very familiar with lots of photographers in the UK and in the US in particular, and maybe Australia and South America, I'm not really familiar very much with the work of Nigerian photographers. So I really want to learn, and that's another great reason for us to be speaking to you this evening because there's no better person to learn from. What I can say is that I've had the pleasure of photographing a number now of Nigerian weddings in the UK, and they are
And
crazy.
how did you
I've always
how did
absolutely
you like it?
loved them. Yeah,
Did you
hard
did you
work.
try did you try did you try small chops? Did they give you small chops or jollof rice?
Yes, I have. Well, what I will say, I've had quite a lot of food that I wasn't sure what it was. It was very nice, but I just ate it. I don't know, but the days themselves are crazy. Everybody's dancing, everybody's smiling, just
Yes,
energy
yes,
everywhere. So
yes.
I've
That's it.
really enjoyed those. But yeah, hard work.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I love Nigerian weddings. So, but yeah, Helen and I and the whole Flashmasters community are very keen to learn more about the work that's being produced in Nigeria and Africa because I say it's not really. I don't think many of us are aware. So that's why tonight is going to be great. So, could I please ask you, Henry, just to start off the stream, just to maybe introduce for maybe anybody watching from the UK and maybe US who maybe isn't familiar with your work, a little bit about your background and how you started in photography.
Okay. Thank you, Neil. My full names are Henry Ojimadu Eberechuku Mwenze. I am Nigerian. I'm from the eastern part of Nigeria. I've been photographing for 12 years. I started photography shortly after my wedding. I picked up a camera after my honeymoon, and I wanted to be that photographer who would go for events with, a very fancy, nice, small camera. Back then, you would see people at events with, big iPads and all of that, but I just wanted to do things differently. But I had no intentions, to be very honest with you, of going into photography to commercialize my work. I really just wanted to go into photography as a hobby. I had a decent 9 to 5, a very good paid job, so I didn't feel like I had any need to go into photography. But for me, what has started as an interest became a very very strong interest, and then it moved into a passion, and now it's a strong passion, something that is almost consuming my life, because that's pretty much everything that I do. Is everything that I'm about. Just photography in the morning, afternoon, evening, whether it is shooting or sharing or just trying to impact, whatever it is. My life right now revolves around photography. It's amazing to see what had started just from a hobby. It's amazing to see what it is now. I think what is even more amazing and humbling is what it can become in the next 5 years, 10 years, if God keeps us alive. Um, but yeah, this is in a nutshell a story of how I became a photographer. I am the first child of 8 kids from my parents. I must say that when I was a lot younger, I think I was about 7 years old. When I come back from school, they would give us a couple of assignments to do. They would give us maths homework, they would give us English homework. But I never did my maths, I never did my English. Rather, I would go to my fine art homework and try to replicate everything that was in the book. And my mom would come and beat me and say, go and do your maths homework, go and do your English homework. Artists don't get paid. Artists are not going to be rich. So go and learn something that will get you money. And when I look at what God has done through this art, I am deeply grateful to God first, and I am grateful to everybody that I have worked with over the years, everybody that has contributed their quota to Big A Studios. It is deeply humbling and very satisfying to see where we are today as an institute, where I am as an individual, and I am just so overwhelmed with grace and joy, honestly.
No, that's amazing, and it's just listening to you speak, Henry, is inspiring in itself because you clearly speak with such a passion and such a love for photography, and I say and that's something that I think when we all listen to that, we all feel it too. When Henry speaks, we all listen, and it seeps into all of us as well, which is, a really nice trait that you have because you're very, very inspirational, and the way that you speak about photography, it makes it very clear that it is your passion, and I can understand and believe you when you say that it can sometimes almost be too much because it must rule your life, I guess.
Yeah, very true. Very true. I have literally almost lost my life as a result. I'll tell you a story. We had a wedding somewhere in Nigeria, and we were traveling up until midnight, like 2 a.m., and we got attacked by armed robbers. We were in the bus, and
Oh,
next thing we started
wow.
to hear gunshots all over the place. And in my mind, I'm like, if you want to die, you don't want to die doing the very thing that you love. At the time, that's what I was thinking. But to be honest, there's no better way to die than doing what it is that you love. To be honest, you need to love it enough to give your life for it. That's the only way that you can convince people that you're really passionate about this thing. You understand? It's good that we get paid doing what we love. It's good that we get the recognition here and there, but it's never really about the recognition. I think that it's just about feeling life, being alive, and feeling like you're contributing something to the society, whether it is the people that are learning from you or the people that you are learning from, whatever it is. So when I look back at that experience, to die doing this work is a miracle. I really love what I do. I feel like it is the one thing that I have found my hand to do, that I can say that this is what God wants me to do. This is the talent that I have been blessed with, to be able to bless the people that are around me. I don't know what I would be doing if I wasn't doing photography.
Yeah, well, firstly, I'm very sorry that you went through that experience. That must have been awful. I can't imagine. Um, but even the way that you speak about that and almost put like a positive spin on it is incredible. You mentioned there, Henry, that you have a lot of people around you, obviously, who help you. I'm aware that you run, it appears anyway, a very successful studio, so it's not just yourself. So, out of interest, how did you go from picking up a camera to actually being in a position where you're working in a studio environment and have a team of people around you?
Okay, so initially when I started, I had a 9 to 5, so I was juggling my 9 to 5 and my photography. And the only time that I had to give my photography was typically Saturdays and Sundays, because Mondays and Fridays I had to go back to work. I couldn't do that consistently. Eventually, you would have to give way, and one would have to give way. You have to give way to something that is not as passionate as what you are passionate about. And for me, I needed to just stop my 9 to 5. I'm not necessarily saying that if you have a 9 to 5, you cannot follow your passion. You can. You can somehow juggle the two. But the thing with photography or art is when it starts to consume you, you probably don't have time for any other thing. I needed to just focus completely on photography. So one day I went home. I said to my wife, I'm no longer going to be working at the company where we're going to have to face photography full time. Um, I think that one of the best decisions that I took at the early stages of my career was not to immediately start a studio. Because the problem with starting a studio at the time that you're just starting out your work is that, one, you don't really know anything about photography, you understand, and you want to start running a business. So you're going to be doing business, you're possibly going to be making money, but the problem with that is that you don't necessarily know the art enough to be able to grow as an individual. So I took a lot of time to just study photography, to have an understanding of what it is that I wanted to do. At the time when I started, I was shooting everything: kids' parties, weddings, portraits, anything that was available for me to be shot, because I felt like I needed to do all these things to put food on the table. But I saw people's work like Obisomto, T.Y. Bello, Kelechi Amadiobi. These are all great Nigerian photographers. And there was something unique, something different, something very distinct about the work that they do. And I felt like, I really want to do stuff like them. I really want to photograph like them. I really want to be able to find my voice. And I took some time out to just understand what it is that I wanted to do. And I think that the best decision that I took growing up as a photographer was not to open a studio immediately, because running a business, being an entrepreneur, everything that you're thinking about is the figures, the numbers. You're thinking about, paying of bills, you're thinking about payment of salaries, you're thinking about making sure that the numbers are adding up. But if you're truly passionate about something, you would have a little bit more interest than just the numbers. So eventually, over time, from photographing people in my bedroom, in my house, you understand, and getting a space and growing into the space that we now have, I feel like that's what the journey is about. You need to be able to look back and appreciate where you're coming from, where you are now, and most importantly, where you're going to tomorrow. So that in a nutshell is how we moved from the passion into um, creating the studio. But most importantly, I think that we need to start looking at sustainable growth. And sustainability here for me is, who's going to be doing this thing when you are no longer there? Because there's this thing that we think about ourselves so much that we think that everything revolves around us. We need to create a system where we are impacting people and living a little bit of ourselves in the lives of people. You understand? So that's why we started the Follow the Light Academy. We started the Big Age Mentorship, where we bring in people, we train them, and we say, now you've learned, you can go back and bless the community, have your own studio, do what it is that you've been called to do. I think, apart from everything that comes with the work that we do, the most fulfilling thing for me is impacting people. That's the most fulfilling thing. There's nothing as fulfilling. It is even more fulfilling than the money that I make. And I'm so grateful that I'm able to make as much money in this work. But when I see somebody come into my studio as a blank canvas, and then they live in 3 years or in 5 years as an established person, or as somebody who has even found their voice and ready to take on the world, there is nothing as fulfilling as that. I can mention so many names of people who have come in and have become great at what they do. So the studio isn't a walk-in studio. It's not just a place where people come in and take pictures. It's a place where people come and become. You understand? It's a place where
Oh,
people come and
wow.
find. It's a place where people come. Identity has been given birth in the four corners of this place, and these people have gone on to do the same thing for so many other people. There's a guy called Kunle Lanio who has a whole team, and it's been mirrored from what he has learned here. There is no so Koye, and the names are so many. You understand? And I don't take credit for where they are. Honestly speaking, I don't. I am just happy that we can become a platform for these people to establish themselves. And I think that that is what Biggest Studios is about. Beyond taking nice pictures, beyond, you know, everything that we do here, beyond the creativity, I think that it is the impact that we have by God's grace in people's lives. That's what I want to be remembered for. I don't want anyone to talk about how beautiful the pictures are, how different they are. That's secondary to what it is that I really want to do.
Wow, Henry, honestly, listening to you, I think if everyone had the same approach in this life as you do to life and to your work, the world would be a far better place. It's just listen to you. You're so humble and so modest, and the comments that we're receiving are saying the exact same thing. Everyone is just absolutely in awe of not just your photography, but your approach to life. And I don't know where you've got that from, or you've obviously
My father,
I was gonna say you've been raised very,
my
very
father,
well. Yes, well, he was
my
obviously a
father is
very
my
good man.
biggest influence. I saw my dad train people in the field of electronics. I saw my dad train people, even people who hurt him, even people. See, the thing with training people is that you don't bring in people into your space and expect that they will be perfect. You don't bring them into your space and expect that they would reward you for everything. That's not what it is. You understand? So I learned it from my dad. There's something in my culture we call freedom. So freedom is when someone works with you for some time and then you now have to let them go and then watch them become everything that they're meant to be. So credit to him. He's late now, but to be honest, he is my biggest influence, and I am deeply grateful for the training that my father gave to me.
Well, what I can say is he will be very, very proud of you, Henry, and
Thank you.
everything you've achieved. And it's so nice to I don't know. Maybe it's something that we struggle with in the UK and the US, but that there oftentimes in photography seems to be an issue with what I would call ego. And people wanting to prove that they're better than the other photographer, whereas it sounds like you're the complete opposite of that. And your whole philosophy is you want to teach everyone so everyone
You know,
benefits.
can I say something? You
Please.
can never ever become the best in any field. There is always going to be someone 10 times better than you. The moment you realize this, you put less pressure on yourself. You understand? There's no time to want to do all of this because you want to be recognized as the number one or the ultimate. There's nothing like that. You understand? There's no room for ego. I am where I am today because I have learned so many things from the people that have worked with me. I've learned from Kunle, Koye, Emmanuel, Shegun. All of them have somehow learned from here, and they've also been able to teach me so many things. You understand? So you become the complete package because you are product of different people. You understand? I think that people who always strive to be the ultimate best, it leaves a lot of room for ego and pride. And I'm not even saying that I'm the most humble. There's so many things that I'm learning as well. But I feel like take that pressure off yourself. Don't think so much about yourself. The only thing that you should worry about is to become the best version of yourself. If there is room to grow, grow. But don't grow because you want to prove anything to people. If there is room to do something better, do it better, but do it for yourself. You understand? We should stop looking at success at the expense of people. Sometimes people only enjoy success because they want to be able to show other people that they are successful. Just enjoy it for yourself. That's the way I look at it. You understand? And I feel like I'm able to create from a place of freedom, less pressure, because I'm not going into a shoot thinking about how I want this image to be the best. No, it can never be the best. People's tastes are very different. People are going to like it, other people are not going to like it. Neil, you love my work, and I'm deeply grateful for that. But there are people who are going to look at it and think it's elementary, and that's okay. That's fine. Just understand that as you are doing you, you are also doing that for certain people who are attracted to your work. And there are other people that are not going to be attracted to your work. So let's do away with ego. Let's do away with this mentality of, I want to be the best. You can never be the best. It's not possible.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think what comes through from that is you're obviously very comfortable with the knowledge, as we all have to get to when we develop a style, that your style may appeal to one person as your style does to me, but it may not appeal to the next person, and that's fine. That's completely fine. So I suppose one of the problems that people have is they can sometimes try to appeal to everyone, and in doing so, I feel they don't find their own voice and they don't find their own
Fantastic.
path. So,
Fantastic.
so
We need to retweet that.
Oh,
Fantastic.
so my question was going to be, Henry, because this is not easy to answer. How do you develop a style? How do you get there? Because you definitely do have a style. I've not been aware of your work for as long as I wish I had, but I can look at your work now and think that's Big H. It screams it. So how do you have you been conscious of working towards a style, or has it just happened naturally?
I don't know. I don't know that it happens naturally. I think that the first thing that you must understand in discovering your style is that you need to be able to put in time. You need to be able to give it a lot of time, a lot of effort. Discovering your style is like understanding yourself. And I think for me, photography has been a tool to make me understand myself better. It comes from knowing what you like to knowing what you don't like. An example I like to give, I hate yellow. I don't like yellow. I don't like to photograph yellow. I like to photograph red, green, and some other bold colors. You understand? You need to know this about yourself to be able to put it in your work. So for me, 2013 was a major defining moment for me because that was the year I had a health scare. I almost lost my life, so I had to leave the country for about 6 months. And there was a lot of time that I was staying alone in between my house and going for hospital operations and things like that. So there was a lot of self reflection and just me just sitting down and thinking, what do I really want out of photography? You understand? And I feel like I wanted people to look at my work and to be able to identify it easily. So, number one is that you would never ever see me in recent times sign my work or put my name on my work because I needed to put in a lot of effort to be able to make sure that that work is easily identifiable by people. You understand?
Yeah.
I stopped doing every other thing and just focusing on understanding light. I think that that's one of the things that I did in 2013 that helped me to grow as a photographer. It doesn't make any sense to know and do everything. It's just like jack of all trades and master of none. I just wanted to concentrate on one thing. And in recent times, I started to fall in love with fine art. I feel like my fine art work is still developing. I feel like I want to maybe take some time and go to school and understand it a lot better. But I do feel that if there's anybody here who is asking the exact same question about finding your style and understanding your style, is that you need to go on a self discovery journey, number one. Number two, understand that understanding your style takes time. So you are going to shoot like other people before you learn to shoot like yourself. There's a famous quote I learned from someone who used to work here. His name is Obina. And he said, you would have to see through the eyes of other people before you learn to see for yourself. So it is important that in understanding your style, it is okay to be in the phase where you feel you are copying this person or copying this other person or being inspired by this person because no one is born with, oh, this is your style. You have to discover it. And in discovering it, you're going to maybe like the way Annie Leibovitz shoots. You're possibly going to like the way Lindsay Adler shoots, or Chris Knight, or T.Y. Bello, or Kelechi Amadi. And eventually, one day, you're going to have that light bulb moment. You're going to pick from here and pick from here and pick from here, and maybe somehow just merge it into one great work. Who knows? You understand? But let it be said that you must embark on that journey. You must give it time. You must be willing to make a lot of mistakes. You must be willing to be called names and take criticism. You understand? You must be willing to ask many, many questions. I ask so many questions, not just to people, but I ask questions of my work. I looked at my work and I felt like, what do I want this work to become? So in the last 2 years, I feel like I am trying to evolve into something else. There's so much I'm trying to introduce into my work, and I'm also just trying to discover that as well. If anyone is listening and struggling with finding their style, that's okay. That's very, very normal. But just make sure that you're giving it time. Make sure that you're shooting. You can't say I want to discover my style and you're not practicing. You have to practice. You have to shoot. You have to embark on personal work. You understand? Because personal work is the perfect platform to discover the type of things that you like. You need to go out there and shoot weddings. You need to go out there and shoot portraits, shoot fine art, shoot babies, shoot people, and then see them out and say, okay, while shooting weddings, I really didn't like this, so I'm going to scrap this. If you don't try all these things, you are never going to know what you like and what you don't like. You understand? So you should be willing to try as many things as possible, learn from many people as possible, and eventually, hopefully, you get to find your own voice.
I'm almost lost for words, Henry. I wish that we could take your words and just have them with us all the time because I agree with everything that you're saying, and it makes total sense. Some of it is difficult, such as listening to criticism, but if you can do that, I totally agree. That's when when you'll fly. And it's just a shame that a lot of people, I think, feel very scared of trying new things because they feel as though that's not what other photographers, other people will like. And I think when you can get out of that mindset of worrying about what other photographers think of you, and you just shoot for yourself and your passion and what speaks to you
Yeah,
here, that's when you'll
yeah,
flourish. And that's clearly what you're doing. And it's so nice
yeah.
to hear someone as accomplished as you saying that, because it reinforces that message to us. But also that you've been through that journey yourself and you've come through the other side of it. You know, it's
And
just a shame that.
I'm still very much in the journey. It's not, it's
Mhm.
something that doesn't necessarily end. You have to. I feel like life is about evolving and evolving, and finding different versions of yourself and loving different versions of yourself. So I'm still at that place where I'm learning. I'm still at that place where I want to relearn some of the things that that I have learned. I'm still at that place where I'm trying to become. You understand?
Yeah, that's really nice. Just want to say again, we welcome as many comments as we can. We've had so many, so much love for Henry, and I wanted just to pick up on this one. We've had a couple here that have mentioned how Henry, you will reply to people's messages, and not a lot of people do that, and that speaks volumes again of you as a person, and as a man. I think it's really nice to see that, because we've got this feeling from you when we've spoken to you, but to see all these people in the chat saying you're always like that is really nice. And what I would
Thank you.
say for those watching, please, two things. If you have any questions for Henry, please do let us know in the comments, and I will share them on the screen and ask Henry to reply to them. And also, if we could ask you just to like the stream, that will get this stream just seen by more people. We currently have 136 people watching, and 49 likes. If we can get it to 100 likes on the video, that will get this video out to more people. And this is what we're so passionate about doing, because Henry's words will help the whole photography industry. It's if we could all have this same belief in ourselves as Henry does, then everyone would benefit. I also want to, Henry, just to go back a little bit. You mentioned earlier how you're so passionate about education and helping other photographers, and that you have your own academy. Could you maybe just talk to us a little bit about that, please, and what you actually do to help more inexperienced photographers?
Yeah. So we had started. Initially, it was called BH photography class, um, and a few years ago we had to change the name into Follow the Light. So it's called Follow the Light. Everyone who is a photographer knows exactly what light means, and does for photography. And I feel that as long as you're a photographer, one of the most important thing to do is to understand light. And every time that we talk about light, we're not necessarily talking about the big fancy lights that you use in the studio. It's just understanding everything that has to do with light. Light is God made. Light is something that God created. Is vast. It is sunlight. It is light that comes from the clouds. It is tungsten. It is strobe light. It is, we wanted people to really just come into the class and have a different perspective of their photography and of light. So I'm deeply grateful to God that we, over the years, I think we've trained about close to, should I say, maybe 300 people in the last 8 years. We currently do the classes once in 2 years. We used to do it every year, but now we have to do it once in 2 years because we create the next year to mentor the people that we just finished training. So if we have a class for 2 months in 2024, then in 2025 we wouldn't have a class because in 2025 we're mentoring the people who attended the class in 2024,
Yes.
overseeing what they're doing and just making sure that they're in the right place with their creativity. And then in 2026 we'll have another class. I think that what we're trying to do with the Follow the Light is to make it a corporate social responsibility arm of the studio where we also impact in communities. So there is a community here that we try to go to every year to make sure that we're doing CSR work. It's still um, hopefully I'll get a better time to talk more about Follow the Light.
That's lovely, and I love hearing you talk about how happy you are to train other photographers. Again, you know, we do struggle. Again, it might be something that's more based to UK, US, and things. But sometimes a lot of photographers seem to keep their secrets to themselves and not want to help other people. But again, you are proof, and to everybody listening and watching, Henry is proof that if you share and push out good into the world, you'll get it back. That's something that I wish we all would do more. And I love hearing about how you're so happy to help other photographers. I can only imagine how beneficial it is to those photographers can come onto your program, and how much they will learn from that. Yeah, it sounds amazing. A couple of questions we've just had, Henry. Would you be interested? Have you ever thought about doing workshops maybe outside of Nigeria?
Sorry?
We've had a question here asking if you would ever consider doing like a workshop
I
or
think I've
any
lost you for
training.
a bit. Are you here,
Oh,
Neil?
yes, I can hear you. Okay. Hopefully, we'll get Henry back.
Can you hear
Sorry
me?
about this, everyone. Yes, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Ah,
What was the
perfect.
question?
So yes, somebody asked a question. Woodworking Photo has asked, would you ever consider offering any training or workshops outside of Nigeria, maybe in the UK or in another country? Ooh, I don't know if we just lost.
I'm here. I think I have a little internet connection problems, but let me just try and sort that out.
Don't worry at
Can you
all.
hear me?
I can hear you okay. Yeah, it's frozen, but we can still hear you fine.
I feel like.
Again, just
Yeah.
whilst Henry's sorting that out, I'll just say
Can
again,
you hear
thank you
me?
to. Yes, perfectly. Can you hear me?
Okay. I can hear you perfectly. Can I take the question again?
Of course, yes, of course. So it was just Henry who had a question here. Would you consider offering any training or workshops outside of Nigeria, maybe in the UK or somewhere?
Of course, I would love to do that. Recently, I was in the UK in March, and I had like a mini workshop with a couple of friends. Sharing is something that I love to do. So whether it is in Nigeria or outside the country, it is something that I would really love to do. We need to get the message out to as many people as possible. We need to there's no limitation to impact. There's no limitation to whatever it is that you want to do when you're passionate about sharing. If you can do it outside the shores of your country, then yeah, why not go to the UK, go to America, go anywhere, and just share that light. It's called follow the light. That's what we call it. And once you find the light, you can now share the light. Yes. So yes, I can come to anywhere you want me to come.
I love that. Well, instantly, I'm already thinking, right, Helen's over here. We will try and make that happen. To everybody watching, we will speak to Henry because I know that. I mean, we've been with this stream it hasn't even gone an hour yet, but I know that if we were to put something on with Henry, say in the UK, it would fly, and I'd be at the front of the queue. No, that would be amazing to know that you'd be interested in doing
Thank
that.
you.
And
Thank you.
yeah, no, not at all, not at all. Somebody actually asked a question about equipment. I don't want to dwell too much on the equipment side because I think the inspiration we're getting is so amazing. But we are photographers. We do like our equipment. So could you just maybe talk us through, Henry, what cameras you use and what your favorite lenses are?
Okay, I'm currently shooting with Sony. I am a collaborator with Sony, so I work for Sony. Some of the videos that I sent to you are actually videos that we've done for Sony. I use the A7R4 for my portraits and fine art, and then I use the A7R3 for weddings because I shoot weddings as well. My favorite lens for portraits at the moment is the 50 G Master 1.2. It is my most used lens, and my second lens is the 24 I use that to shoot wide to capture moments as weddings. I use that for landscape. I use that for some documentary when I go outside. I feel like every photographer should have a portrait lens and a wide lens. And um, when I started, I felt like I needed all the lenses. You don't need all the lenses. You don't need every focal length. You just need to find that focal length that you can resonate with. And I feel like Over time, I started shooting with 70 to 200, and I moved to the 85. Now I feel like I have settled with the 50, and I feel like the 50 is perfect for me. It is as the eye sees. I don't think I need to do anything more than that. Of course, when the situation requires me to switch to the 85, I can, but I pretty much feel like I do everything that I want to do, portrait wise and fine art wise, with the 50 mm 1.2. So those are the lenses that I use for light. I currently shoot with Pro Photos. I have different Pro Photo lights, B1s, B2s, and which has already been discontinued. But I do have a couple of them that I work with. I also started working with continuous light, so I work with aperture. Yeah, that's me. I don't like to talk about technical stuff like you rightly said, but yeah, for the person who asked, this is what I like to do or what I'm using now.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I say I'm the same. I think photographers often get what we would call it hung up on equipment when really the photographs come from here, right? And then the
Yes,
equipment that we use is a tool. But I
yes,
also know that we people always are interested. And I'm a
yes.
fellow Sony shooter as well. Although I don't use Pro Photos, I wish I did. They're the posh ones for everyone listening. Yeah, maybe one day, maybe one day. What do you like to
But
use, Henry, in terms of modifiers and softboxes and things like that?
so because I do predominantly portraits and fine arts, I tend to work with bigger soft boxes, big modifiers, big octa boxes, big soft boxes. I do have. I started working with the beauty dish, which is I mean, it's a hard light, and sometimes it can be soft depending on how you use it. But my go-to modifier would be an octabox and a 120 cm umbrella. I like big lights. No matter how big the modifier is, I'm okay with it. Something that I really love to do is that I love to work with window lights. Yeah. I feel like they're the absolute best source of light, depending on how you choose to modify modify the light. I love to shoot natural lights as well.
Yeah, and that's really important as well because I think sometimes people can overlook how important and how beautiful natural light is. I always think if you have the natural light there, then do use it because it can be absolutely beautiful. Um, Last question I'll ask you on equipment, Henry. We've got a question here. If you could only keep one light modifier, what would it be? If you only have allowed one.
If I could keep one light modifier, I would keep my waistcoat umbrella because it is easy to collapse and mount anywhere. My waistcoat umbrella would be my go-to modifier for my travels and anything that I want to do.
There you go. Great answer. So everyone's rushing off now to go and buy the Westcott umbrella.
Oh, I think I need to come here.
Um, right. Another quick question I'd like to ask Henry. You mentioned before when it comes to finding your style and your voice that it was very important that you shoot for yourself and personal projects. So, how did you first start to do that? Did you do that on purpose, or did you just shoot personal projects almost by accident? And
It's a very important question.
yeah, I'm just wondering, like, again, for people, I'm just imagining people watching thinking, "Oh, I wonder what sort of thing I should go and shoot to push myself." I'm wondering what you did, like whether you went out thinking, "I'm going to shoot people" or "I'm going to shoot something else."
I think that personal works are very important, and one of the things that keeps you disciplined while doing your personal works is something called series. You can embark on different series. For me, we started doing the Windows series, the Turban series, the Big Hair series, the Walkman series, and My Devotion. A lot of this series, sometimes it doesn't end. If I talk about the Windows series is like a photography therapy that allows me to have conversations with people, hear their story, and I feel like it made me a better photographer because it allowed me to connect with my subject while photographing them. I don't want my pictures to look bland. I want it to be able to feel like a deep meaning to it. I want it to be able to also question it. And I feel like the Windows series allowed me to connect with people on a deeper level. But the most important thing about series is that it allows you to discipline yourself and commit yourself to doing one thing. So if you're doing a series, for example, on big hair or turban, you understand? So you say to yourself, every month I'm going to create two different images or three different images of this series. It allows you to embark on personal projects. We should not be fixated on we shouldn't be fixated on doing so many commercial works. Commercial works are good, but personal works is what makes you a better artist. So if a photographer is here and they're listening, I would say embark on as many personal projects as possible. Try to see if you can finish them. If you can, if you can't, just try to stay consistent in them, and that way you can grow. Is it working?
Fantastic advice. Really, really good advice. Thank you very much, Henry. I'm a big believer in this as well. I shoot a lot for myself. I always enjoy doing that, and I find that. I mean, I'm predominantly a wedding photographer, but I do find that when I shoot for myself, the ideas and the concepts that I can create outside of weddings, I can then take into weddings. So I'm a big believer in shooting for yourself, and it's. I think for people that don't do this, never underestimate how useful it is to shoot with no pressure or with little pressure, and just to
Yes.
experiment and try new things. Because
Yep.
commercial work is not the
Yes.
time. I always think for that.
Yes. Yes, I agree. I think the commercial work is good because at the end of the day you need to pay your bills, you need to put food on the table, you need money to come in to whatever it is. You need money to be able to finance your passion and everything. So I'm not throwing away commercial work. But commercial work doesn't always allow you time to grow. You understand, as much as your personal work. So let me give you an advice. Not you, I mean, but anyone who is listening. Um, do your personal work so much to the point where people now pay you to do the type of work that you love to do. You understand? So take your creativity to that point where even when you are doing commercial work, it is almost like you're doing personal work. You understand? And I learned this from another Nigerian photographer. His name is Hakim Salam. He said, I want people to pay me for what I can do and not what they want me to do. You understand? And before you get to that level, you need to be able to invest as much time in practice, in your personal work, in all those series, because that is where you are discovering yourself. That is where you're discovering your craft. That is where you're finding your niche market. That is where you're finding your style. And the moment people can identify your style, then you can now identify the people that you want to work with. There are people who like dark. There are people who like bright and airy. There are people who like fine art. There are people who like beauty. But what is it that you are very good at? You understand? If I was going for a surgical procedure, the tendency that I want to go and meet a general practitioner is very, very slim. I would most likely go to meet somebody who is proficient in surgery. You understand? That's because this is exactly what he knows how to do. So for photographers, it's the same thing. What is that thing that you can do very well? Do it long enough until people start to pay you.
Oh, sorry, Henry's just dropped out there. I tell you what, for everybody watching though, just in the meantime, I am loving this. This is a lesson for photography and life. Hopefully,
You guys try and connect to somewhere else.
Henry, I'll just meet you for a second, Henry, just to see if it comes back. Um, but yeah, I just want to say thank you again to everybody watching this. I hope you're
Yo,
enjoying it
can
as
you
much
hear
as
me?
I am. Yes, I can. Yeah.
Connect to somewhere else.
Don't worry if you need to leave and reconnect, Henry. That's not a
Oh
problem. I can
Lord.
just talk for a few minutes. I'll just pop
Can you hear me?
Hen. Yeah, I can hear you. Okay. Yes. Oh, there you are. Yes.
Okay, let me just okay, I'm here. I'm here. I think everything is back on now.
Yeah, we can hear you
Can
fine.
you see
Yeah.
me? Can you hear me very well?
Yes. Yes. You're back.
Okay, and then the people who are joining, can the people hear me?
I think so. Let's see some. I mean, I'm going to say some love in the chat for Henry. We've got so much already. But if you can see and hear Henry, if you could let us know in the comments, please. I can hear him fine. The obviously the connection's not great, but it's certainly good enough. The main thing is we can hear your words, Henry, and that's the most important thing. But I think that what Henry was talking about there about the importance of personal projects is something that I've certainly experienced in my career as well. The other thing which I think is really important to remember is when you are a busy photographer and you're shooting an awful lot, if it's only commercial paid work that you're doing, it can become very stressful and you can unfortunately sometimes lose the
Yes,
love of photography. Whereas when you go out and you shoot for yourself with no pressure and
yes,
you're shooting something completely different, the spark will come back.
yes. I
Yes,
do
yeah,
agree.
we
I
can
do
hear
agree.
you. Yeah, we can
And
hear you fine.
you can you can easily get burnt out when you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And I think most importantly, the point that you raised, Neil, about losing love and desire for the thing that you used to love, I think it stems from just not getting inspired again. You understand? If you take yourself out there and you try to do new things and you try to embark on a lot of personal projects, you're going to somehow find the love again for the photography.
Totally, exactly. Yeah, no, I think it's really important that we everybody understands how important it is, and that's also where I think your style will come through so quickly as well when you do that. Um, we had a question earlier, Henry, which it's actually on my list to ask you, but I thought I'd just see if I can find the actual question because I loved it, and thank you again to everybody watching for the questions. Please keep them coming through. Let me just see because I thought it was a really fantastic question. It was to do with this is the one. Yeah. This question here, I think, is something that I wanted to ask Henry as well. When we've seen lots of Henry's images already on the stream, and as you'll see, they're so unique and so timeless and beautiful and very different to anything else that I've seen. So I would also like to know, as your images are so different, Henry, and very creative, how do you what's the whole process basically of that creativity? Like when you're working with a client, is it their idea? Do they come to you with suggestions, or do you delve into your own mind and then work with your client to get to the end result?
So a lot of times when I'm working with clients, I like to know exactly what they want initially. Um, in recent times, the clients will come to you and say to you, "We want you to have free creative um, free creative freedom to do what it is that you want to do." You understand? I tend to excel better um, when the client gives us free creative freedom because it's almost like you're using them as a muse for your own personal work. Sometimes when I feel like I'm struggling, I would need some help. So I would ask the client to please point me in the direction that they want me to go, maybe share me their own mood board, and then from there, I can build on it. So a typical experience would be a client will call in and book a consultation, and on the consultation day, we would have myself, the client, and the creative director, and we're just having conversations with the client and just trying to pick their mind as to where they want the images to go to. There are some people who have gone through like lots of deep pain and deep sorrow. We would ask them, what is the story? You understand? We've done shoots for somebody who survived cancer. We've done shoots for people who have gone through loss, and we want to be able to capture these images in such a way that it is capturing their essence. So in that case, you just don't want to go and shoot and create a fine image. You want to be able to tell an epic story. You understand? So it's important that in that consultation process that you are communicating with the client. I know that you have what it is that you want to create in your head, but it's important that you hear from them and know exactly what they would also like. But a creative process for me would start from a blank canvas, and just build into putting the subject and the different elements. An example that I like to use is the example of the creation. There was darkness in the earth. God came and said, "Let there be light." A photographer comes and he doesn't want shadows, he brings light. And then eventually, God starts to put every single thing into the earth. That's the way I work with my creative process. You understand? I like to work with different elements. Once I bring my light, I bring my different elements, whether I'm working with plants, whether I'm working with fabrics, whatever it is, and then I put my subject in there to kind of just infuse everything together. So that's the way I tend to work.
It sounds amazing. I love how deep the connection must be with your client before you've even lifted up a camera. You know how the lens you're going through to understand their personal situation and what they would like and their past, and that comes through in your work. When I've described your work, I always say it's very deep, and sometimes when we look at the work, it really inspires an emotion in me that is obviously come from you having such a good understanding of your clients. And I think that, again, very, very important. I think it's also important, like, even if we
Thank
step aside from portraits, we think about weddings, the more we can understand about our clients, I feel as though the better the job we can do for them is as well. So, yeah, it's nice to hear that you're putting a
Yeah,
lot of time into communicating with your clients before you even start the shoot. How long would
yeah,
the
it's
process
very
be,
important.
Henry,
It's very important.
between someone coming to you with wanting their portrait and actually you coming up with that concept? Is it a long time? Is it a long process?
It's not very long. We would typically ask for 2 months between when you call and when we can actually execute the shoot. But to be very honest, realistically, sometimes we can take a booking in 2 weeks. We can take a booking in 4 weeks. There are times that what people want isn't, you know, very complex. And if we're doing something that is not so complex, we don't require a lot of time and a lot of planning. If we're doing something that is very complex, then we would require time and planning. There are some times that we would need to build sets, and those sets can take a lot of money, they can take a lot of time to create, so we would require some time. But typically, I would say realistically 2 weeks for something that doesn't require so much planning. And if we need to go overboard, I would say 6 weeks.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And just before we actually, I'm going to ask you actually a couple of specific questions about some of your work in a second. But we had a really interesting question here
Yes, please.
from Sani, which is, how do you handle rejection from your clients? Again, I see this as being a fear that people have. Is it something that you experience and that you can give any advice on?
Of course, it's something that you have to experience to grow. It is not possible that you're going to go through your journey and you're going to be liked by everybody, and you're not the best thing that happens in sliced bread. You understand? Everybody's going to have a preference for the type of work, and I don't think that you should ever blame yourself because a client has rejected you. There are a number of reasons. You understand? Maybe they can't afford you, and that's not your fault. Maybe they don't have the budget for that. You understand? They would love to work with you, but it is over their budget, and maybe they don't want to disrespect you by hagging price and asking you to please bring down your price. You understand? So maybe they would want to go and work with somebody who they can afford. So that's not so much of a rejection. Sometimes I have gone through situations where I have had a consultation, I have spoken to them, and they take the idea and completely go and work with somebody else. As a human being, that's going to crush you. You understand? It's going to hurt you when you see maybe people that you've worked with in the past um, go to work with somebody else. It's very normal. I'm not going to stay here and act like a saint and feel like these things don't get to me. They do. I feel like I handle it better now because I'm in that place where I really just want to work with the people who want to work with me. It is deeply satisfying when you're working with your own. There is less pressure. There is less. Recently, there were a couple of weddings in Kano. Kano is a northern state in Nigeria, you understand? And I knew all the people who got married. There were people, a lot of people thought that, oh yeah, you should be in Kano taking these pictures. So why didn't you take the pictures? I wasn't sad. I wasn't feeling any type of way because I mean I was in a different city doing something else, resting, taking pictures. You need to understand that you can't possibly do everything. And when I look back at the people who eventually shot those weddings, many of them were students who had passed from the Follow the Light class. So it's a win-win for
Oh,
everybody at the end of the day. I think that rather than beat yourself and feel sad over rejection, use it as a stepping stone to be better. Use it as a stepping stone to do great work. Eventually, you will be able to attract people who love your work. And even when you do, you will still find people who will reject your work. That's fine. You can't do everything. So it's part of growth.
what a great answer. Yeah, and I think we all need to remember that we'll never please everybody all the time, and that's something that is natural and is normal, and not to worry about that because nobody can. I always think if you think of the great artists, some people love Picasso's work, some people don't like it. You will never please everyone. But I think it's always important just to remain true to yourself and
Yes.
your own voice, as Henry's obviously describing there. Um, so, with that being said, Henry, I'd love just to chat about a couple of your actual images, if that's okay. I mean, there are so many we could
Sure.
discuss.
Sure.
But like, if we just look at this one for
So
starters, for
before we
example.
start, I just wanted to find out, can you hear me properly?
Yes,
Can you
yes,
hear me properly?
yes, I can hear you fine. Yep.
Okay. Okay. All
Okay.
right.
Yeah. So if you can, I don't
Okay.
know if you can see the screen, Henry, and see this particular one that I've just put on there now.
Yeah. This is um this is a recent image. We created this image about a week or 10 days ago.
Oh wow.
I was at the studio. Now, to be honest, this image stems from sometimes I think that one of the things that helps you to grow is that you need to get to the stage where you are dissatisfied with your work. It is very important that you get through that stage. You can't love your work consistently every time. You're not going to grow. You need to get to that stage where you ask questions of your work and you want your work to evolve and you want more out of your work. And we had created the typical portrait that I would normally create. We've created some creative portraits for this client, and I felt like, okay, you know what? Let's do something different, something that doesn't immediately say big hit shot this. You understand? I don't know that I have anything like this on my page. The client said to me that she wanted a Marilyn Monroe look. Okay, and I must say, if you're a photographer and you're trying to create a Marilyn Monroe look, they are some of the most difficult type of pictures to do. The lighting has to be perfect, it has to be precise. There's a lot of shadow work there, there's a lot of old Hollywood glam there. You understand? So, good luck if you're trying to do that. It took us 45 minutes to do a test for this image. Literally
Wow.
45 minutes to do a test before the client came, because you don't want to be testing your light with the client. She's going to feel like she's not putting in enough effort. She's going to feel like she's not looking great enough. So while she's doing her makeup and everything, just get a muse or one of your assistants and test the light. So let me just take you guys through this. Or should I maybe start by asking a question? How many lights do you think we used for this image?
Oh, I'm going to
If you
pass that over to
think
the comments.
two, yeah, I think we should ask people, and maybe I will
Yeah.
give
Okay.
a gift to the person who gets it right. So if you're
Amazing.
here
Okay, everyone.
and you know the answer, put, put the answer. I might just give you something.
Yeah. So
Is
yeah,
there
if
any
you're
answer?
watching this, how many lights do you think Henry used for this particular image? Okay, so I'll just share a few of them. We've got two. Wait for some more to come through. Oh, we've got lots coming through now. Um,
Okay.
two, three, 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 three. Yeah, all threes and twos at the moment.
I can
I
bet you that some of the people who said three are some of our students. I can see Ijeoma Weke.
okay.
I can see Ekoja's name somewhere there. So they would know. Yeah, so the answer to this question is three. And let me try and break it down. So there is a light source on the floor. So what we had done was to put a foil paper on the floor for the client to stand on. Now, when you light the foil paper against a white backdrop, it creates some ripple effect that makes it look like the person is underwater. You understand? So the first light that we used to get the exposure of the effect on the background is facing the floor. Now, if you don't want that light to spill, you can have a grid on the light to control the amount of light that hits the foil. So it's a simple foil paper. Just put foil paper. It's reflective. It can act as a reflector. But if you ruffle it a little bit and put light on it, it will create the effect, the blue effect that you see on the background. Now, the second source of light is the optical snoot. So the optical snoot is far away from me, is all the way back, and the optical snoot is what is creating the little balls on the backdrop.
Wow,
Okay. Now, when you
that's
put the
amazing.
optical snoot as the second light, you have to try as much as possible to make sure that one of that ball is on the eyes of your subject, but every other thing is going to go into a shadow, and that is where we introduce the third light. So the third light is coming from the most lit part of her hair, the right hand side of the client, which is camera left for me, and we used a beauty dish with a grid to also control the spillage of light so that we don't have light just falling on the background. And there is a video where I reacted to this image. I saw it straight from camera and it was absolutely beautiful. The client has seen it, she's absolutely in love with it. I know that it's not something that you would typically find in my page, but this is what we talk about. Give yourself chance to grow, learn new things, evolve, and try different things. And I absolutely love this image.
So do I, and it's made even better by understanding how you created it. I would never have guessed that the sort of the underwater effect is created by tinfoil on the floor. I would have thought that was a studio backdrop. That's amazing that you've done
Yeah,
that. That's really, really
no,
fascinating.
thank you.
Something as simple as tinfoil. So was the wall itself, Henry, just white to reflect that light well?
No, it was just white. It was just white paper. It was literally just
Right.
white paper, and the effect on the white paper was actually silver. But if you drag your white balance to the blue side a little bit, it can change the color of of the effect to make it look like an underwater.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. Absolutely amazing. And the accuracy as well to have that circle of light on her eye, just so it's phenomenal. Really, yeah. We've had some really amazing
Thank
comments
you.
here coming through. Yeah, it's. I must ask as well about another image, Henry, if you don't mind, because this one is one of my absolute favourites of yours. I think it's phenomenal, which is this one. I just look. This is one of the first shots of yours I saw, and I was like, I don't
I
know who
was
this person is, but I
I
would
was
have that on my
hoping
wall.
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me to talk about this picture. Of course, I'm not even going to take all the glory for this. This was created in Photoshop. But I think that we need to understand something very important, that you need to, first of all, see the image, conceive the image before you take the image. And this image was created at WPPI. There were so many other people photographing this model. I wasn't even the person. She wasn't posing for me. She was posing for somebody else. And I literally just
Wow.
stood by the side to steal a shot. But there was something that I loved about it. You understand? And I loved the fact that she was playing with fabric. And working with fabrics is something that I do a lot in the studio. So it was very familiar territory for me. I loved it on first sight. And she had some of the colors that I liked. Red is a color that I like to photograph. And behind her was a digital backdrop that Portrait Masters had over there, and it was blue. And I just thought of fire and ice, you understand, and generated the fire and ice effects on Firefly, Adobe Firefly, and overlaid it on her. And it was just beautiful on first sight. I couldn't believe that it came out of my hands. I don't know that I'll be able to recreate it again, but In terms of lighting, this image was shot with two continuous lights. There is one continuous light illuminating her face, and then there is a blue light on camera left, separating her from the backdrop. The effect that you see, I'm not going to take the glory, that was created in Photoshop.
No, it's not a problem. But like you said, that doesn't matter because Photoshop is a tool, and you're just using a tool to get you where you want to go. I think
Yes.
as long as you have the concept, I think that's completely fine. You know,
Yeah.
like in the era that we live in now, we should see
Yeah.
Photoshop as a tool that will help us get to where we want to go. No, it's absolutely stunning. Another image here that I'm
Yeah.
asking on behalf of a
Thank you.
Flashmasters member and one of my friends, or our friend Drew Dodd, who looked at this particular image, the next one, and I know said that it was one of his favorite images he's ever seen. It's again incredible. So I'd be interested to know the story again, like just
Thank
the
you.
idea of the concept of where this idea even comes from.
Yeah. So if you see some of my work, I don't know where it came from, but I tend to like the idea of having just one eye in focus and covering the other eye. You understand?
Mm.
So on the day that we were photographing her, this she's actually a real queen in Nigeria. She's the Olori
Wow.
of Ishekiri Kingdom. We were creating this image for her, and we had lots of different plants. So we had people hold the plant from the left and the right, and then we use the plant to cover her face and just draw the viewer's attention to what it is that we want them to see. You understand? And I do this thing where sometimes I'm editing a picture, and then I can leave it and go back to it in a month or two because I'm not particularly inspired by what I'm doing. But I know that when I saw that image, what I had in my mind was droplets of water and just what they call it, like bugs coming out of the plants. You understand? And that was exactly how we created it. I wanted to try it. I didn't know what the client would think about it, and the moment she saw it, she absolutely loved it, and that made me happy. I think that my photography is just about trying different things. Don't be afraid to try things. Don't get into the habit of doing things that are easily accepted by people, because you would never grow, you would never be different. You understand? If you feel like you want to create relatable images all the time, sometimes break the rules, sometimes do something that people don't understand. Art doesn't have to be accepted by everybody, to be honest. There are people who are going to like it, there are people who are not going to like it, and that's fine. You understand? You didn't come to this earth to be loved and to be accepted by everyone. This is the first time that I was trying something like this. I don't think that I had in my mind, oh, will she love it? Will she not love it? I don't care about things like that. This is my personal work. And as much as it resonates with me and I am happy with it, I want to believe that eventually the client will be happy with it. And I was so happy that she saw it and absolutely loved it. So I think I'm going to frame it. I think I should frame it for your friend, since he loves it so much. I will frame it for him.
Oh yes, again Drew Dodd. If I don't know if Drew's watching, but yeah, he sent me a personal message just saying how much he loved this one, and as do I. I mean, everybody would, but it's so striking, and I do think, whereas you say that the image that we maybe saw before this one wasn't typical of your work, this one I think very much is, because I think the next image I've got here is, you mentioned how you like to have one eye coming through. This
Yes,
is very typical of that, and I can
yes,
see
yes,
the influence on one on the other.
yes,
It's so powerful.
yes, yes, yes,
It's sometimes more powerful not showing things than showing things, and the fact that you've got half a face hidden makes her
yes,
eye so strong.
yes. Yes, yes. I
Yes.
think you have to leave that element of intrigue in your images. Sometimes you just have to leave the element of intrigue, get people to question, get people to ask, and say, "Oh wow, how was that done?" I think I like that. I like the direction that my work is graduating into. I think it's beautiful. This is one of my favorite images in recent times. I absolutely love it.
Oh, I can see why, and I know you're not going to like me saying this, but I always look at your work, especially like this, and just think it belongs in a gallery because it's so beautiful, and it doesn't even.
Thank you.
It's not just about the person, you know. I think most people would be happy to have this on their wall, even if they don't know who that person is. It's so powerful. Yeah, in fact,
So
literally, we've just.
let me tell you a little secret. I,
Please do, yes, yeah.
I haven't shared this in recent times. But one of the things that inspires the way I photograph women comes from how I see women. I think that women are queens. I see them as strong. I see them very graceful. And I feel like everybody should be their own Mona Lisa. I feel like you can be your own work of art. You don't necessarily have to just buy art of anything that you're not familiar with. You can actually be your own Mona Lisa. And that is what inspires the way I photograph women. I want, at the end of a particular shoot, to be able to have a fine art image that I can hang on their wall. I wish I could share my screen with you. There are some images on my screen. I'll probably will send them to you via mail, and then we can do this again some other time.
Oh,
But
we'd
thank you
love
so much
to.
for sharing that picture. I absolutely love it.
No, and that's I really like what you said there as well because it's one of the things that does come through in your work is how you are empowering women as well. Like the women in your photographs are strong and they're striking, and that's a really beautiful thing. And yeah, I applaud you for that. It's really a strong trait of your work. In fact, if I'll just see if I can just find another one where I remember thinking that exact thing. One in particular was number 22. So just bear with me a second. Which was this one. Yeah, this image as well. I just thought, oh,
Oh
I'd
yeah.
love to know her story because she's so, I don't know, just so elegant and powerful, and it's so striking. It's beautiful.
So can I share something about this image? Um,
Please do, yes.
um, we were speaking earlier on. We were speaking earlier on about the importance of personal work and working on different series. The thing with doing different series is that eventually somehow everything that you have learned from all those series would merge and help you to create one epic image. So one of the things that I see here is that she's someone I photographed a lot. She's the same lady with the green plants and the bugs.
Oh,
um,
really?
but
Okay.
there is a series that I have been working on, which is, yes, she's the same person. And there's a series that I've been working on called the Turban series, where I absolutely love big turbans. You understand? And what she's wearing here is a fabric made in Nigeria called adire. Uh, you would see it predominantly in the southwestern part of Nigeria, and it screams African. So I felt like, she has a staff. She is very strong. Maybe we could infuse some African paintings around it and create a piece of art, something that can hang in the art gallery. I wanted to do this specifically for an art gallery called Nike Art Gallery. They wanted to use the images for a book about empowering influential African women, and she happened to be one of them. She's currently hanging this picture in her office. Is one of my favorite pieces.
Yeah, I can see why. I can see why, and yeah, it does belong in a gallery. It's absolutely stunning, and her dress as well. It's all so powerful. Like you say, she looks empowered, which is really nice. Um, Question we've just had here, Henry from Stefan. Are your backgrounds digital, or do you download them? Are they real?
Okay, so there are two ways. We generate them in Firefly. We print them on either a canvas or a flex. It's a lot cheaper to print on a flex. Printing on canvas can be expensive, so we can print them on a flex and then photograph the client on the background. But again, you have to be very specific with how you light them so it looks very real. You understand?
Yes.
And other times they are digital backdrops that are overlaid on on the subject. Again, you have to generate a backdrop that aids telling the story that you're trying to
Yeah.
capture. You understand? So it's not just, oh, I'm going to take a fancy backdrop from a stock image and then just place my subject there. No, just like with this image, there is, you can see the intentionality in this image. You can see that all the images that made up this image are connecting to one story. You understand? So sometimes we print them on flexes and canvas, and other times we generate them for digital purpose and overlay them on a clean canvas.
That's really interesting and really good to know. It's so important to say that your work is extremely polished. It would be very easy to you make it sound very simple to do this, but the skill to still choose the correct image, to print it correctly, to light it well, to not have the shadows and the backgrounds, everything like that is really really impressive. How long in general, Henry? Obviously, we can't do any demonstrations, but how long in general will it take you to edit one of your final pieces? Because they're so clean, so perfect. I imagine it's quite a long process.
If I'm going to be honest, you're not going to believe me, and I'm open to doing a demonstration. Obviously, with the work that we're doing, I'm going to have to be doing some demonstrations and live shooting for Flash Masters because Neil is my official boss. Just putting out there. So whatever it is that he wants me to do,
It's the other way around.
I'll do it for you guys. But it can take me between 5 to 10 minutes to edit this picture. Um,
What?
Once I
I thought you were going to
generate
say
the
five to
image,
ten hours.
5 to 10 minutes. Sometimes no, 5 to 10 minutes. Sometimes less. I'm not a Photoshop person in terms of I don't really know how to use Photoshop. So the people who know me, some of them are watching, they know I'm not actually not trying to be humble or lie or anything. I'm not very good at Photoshop. So what I know how to do, I know how to do well, no matter how minimal it is. And if I get the lighting correct, I spend more time creating the images. So what you see here is that I have spent a lot of time taking the picture, making sure that the lighting is correct, making sure that I use the exact textured backdrop that I want to use while I'm shooting. And then I would have generated the images either before the shoot or after the shoot, depending on what is inspiring me. And then I can overlay them in less than 5 minutes. If I was doing this session on my screen, I would have shared my screen to show you guys. But I would do a session for Flash Masters. I would do a recording and send it to you just so that you can, put it on your website.
Oh, thank you. We would love that. We would love that because your editing, even if it is quick, the whole process is obviously very accomplished. So however you're getting there, you're doing it very, very right, which is just yeah, amazing. I just ask you if you don't mind, Henry, just about one other image because there's a technique that you're using here which I think people find useful, and then we'll just ask for some questions from those watching, if you don't mind. And the image that I've chosen is, if it all works correctly, is this
Sure.
one because it's just like wow, that tells such a story, and I'm fascinated by this image.
So this picture is created in camera. Everything about this image was done in camera. There
Wow.
is absolutely no Photoshop here. In fact, at the time that we created this picture, I didn't know how to use Photoshop. At the time I was shooting this, I think we shot this in 2015 or 2016 or thereabout. And the title of this image is called Growth. And the reason why I named it Growth is that you can see the progression of of the muse. And she's also somebody that I've worked with me for many years, and it's just beautiful to see what she's become. When she came in here, she was someone who just finished school. Now she runs a photography studio dedicated to shooting kids. She's now a mother. She's married, and somehow I've been in her life throughout all that process. And I have so many other images of her, but this is definitely one of my favorite. Now let's go to the technical aspect. It's something that I love to do, and and many people know that I love to do it back home. Shutter drag. You tend to have a lot of creative leverage when you slow down your shutter. Now, when you shoot very fast, you can capture motion. When you shoot, sorry, you can freeze action when you shoot very fast, and then when you shoot slow, you can capture the motion. But if the person is not moving, you can create the illusion of motion by moving your lens, zooming in and zooming out. So for this image, when we shot it, I shot it with a 70 to 200. I zoomed in and zoomed out while the shutter was slow. And that's how you were able to catch the three images of her. Now, I have to let you know, when you're doing slow shutter, most of the time you don't immediately know how the final image is going to come out. It's almost like you're
Hmm.
leaving it to chance. So you're going to have to do several different trials before you see what it is that you like. The other thing in this image is that you have to have somebody with the flash. While the shutter is open, they can press the trigger and the trigger would freeze the action that you want it to freeze. And then there has to be the presence of some sort of continuous light that helps you to capture the motion.
That is what just the past minute or two there, I think, is something that we can make this whole stream. I mean, everything else, just from a technical point of view, that is fascinating. And it's such an effective technique. And
Thank
I've
you.
I've seen similar shots done, but never this way, where you've used like a 7200. Usually, it's just going across. You seem to have gone like zooming in and out, which is I've not seen done before,
Yes.
and done so in a way. I
Yes.
think what's really important here is you've not just used a technique to be clever. You've used a technique to explain a story and convey a message of and one of growth. That is what sets you apart, I think.
Yeah.
That, and it's a good lesson for us all to learn. Just because we know how to do something clever doesn't mean it's going to make a good image that's going to resonate with people. When you combine the technique with that deep sort of connection with your client and you're trying to tell a story, that's when it becomes so powerful as this is, and it's absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. I can't imagine
Thank you.
how many goals that actually took to get that right. I suppose it's like with anything, you'll perfect the technique the more you try it.
There is a similar image of a northern king who appeared three times. I think you had featured it. I
Oh,
don't know
let's go
what
see if I
number it
can.
is. It's a similar technique where
Oh yes, yes. Let me just put
is
that one
is
up.
is a king with.
Sorry, everyone. Let's give me 2 seconds. I will find it. Here we go.
Yes, yes. There's a beautiful story to this picture. His name is Turad. He met me. He had just been crowned a king in one of the constituencies in the north, and he said to create an image for him. So an advice that I would like to give photographers is that when you're doing a commercial work, shoot for the client, but don't forget to shoot for yourself. You understand? Shoot
Yes.
shoot the image that you feel like the client is paying you for. But if you have time, try and create some images for yourself. Now, this is something that I did for myself. When you're creating for yourself, you find that you're most likely going to be doing that at the end of the shoot. So, step one, walk up to the client and communicate to them. Ask them, what's the story? Why were you crowned king? What do you think I want to know? And then he says to me, I am the youngest king ever to be crowned in that village. I'm like, okay, that's an interesting information. You understand? He said, everybody who had gone before me is either late or, or old or anything like that. Now I'm going to bring in all of this into this image. And obviously, he's a king who at the time did not have experience. I would need some sort of guidance and everything. So I said to him, okay, I want to create an image with you. Okay. And I'm going to title it One with God is Majority. So you are the only person in the image, but in the final picture, you're going to have the previous kings that were there before you. leading and guiding you to the path that you want to go to. You understand? And we kept the shutter open for about 3 or 5 seconds. And at every time he moves, we would freeze one of his subjects by pressing the trigger. So this is actually one image and not three images in one. So he's moving, and whenever he steps away from himself, we freeze with the strobe. He steps away, we freeze with the strobe, and then we freeze again. This image is currently hanging on my wall in the office. It is one of my absolute favorite image. I feel like the story is very compelling. He didn't understand it initially until I explained everything to him, and I absolutely love it. Something that I particularly love to do is to capture northern culture. The northern culture back home is very rich, rich in colors, rich in details, the elements, everything about the northern culture is beautiful, and it's something that resonates with me. It's something that you would see along my portfolio. I was born and raised in the north, so I tend to have a bias towards the images that I create in the north. This is absolutely one of my favorite pictures.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And again, what I find interesting is this image, even if I didn't know the story, is really powerful and it's beautiful. But when you know the story behind it, everything just lifts up and it just becomes a work of art. And again, that it could just be in a gallery. This is why I'm just so in awe of your work. One thing that you mentioned there, Henry, was about the colours and the rich, vibrant colours that you like. And we had a question here, which is a good one to ask, actually. Um, I don't know how you can answer this, but what are the ways? Have you trained your eyes to see colours? Do you have you trained yourself to understand colours and the relationship between colours?
Yes, yes, yes. I think that colors are a huge part of my work and my creativity, but I must say that it wasn't always like this. When I started, I only liked gray. I was always playing safe. I liked gray, I liked dark colors, and I think that that also came from where I was at the time. I was grieving a lot. I was in a lot of pain. I was grieving as a result of loss. So you couldn't come to my page and see happiness. You couldn't see anything vibrant. You couldn't see anything that draws to you. Everything was pretty much dark. I remember sending my portfolio to someone and she said, "You have gone through a lot of pain to be able to create this thing." So I'm saying this to anyone who is watching. The fact that you're going through pain doesn't necessarily mean that the world is over. You can use that pain to inspire yourself to create something. You understand? And a lot of times it's drawn me to go back to the studio to put images out there. And in that moment, a lot of my images were either black and white or gray or colorless. Until one day somebody said to me, "You know what? I think you need to start infusing colors into your images." So my advice to people watching is that you need to be deliberate about your colors before you even start to photograph them, because color grading is not going to solve all your color problems. You need to be deliberate about whether you're working with yellows or working with reds or greens or blues. You need to understand your color wheel. You need to know what resonates with you. You need to know what colors that are what colors that you are drawn to. So yes, I have trained my eyes to see the type of colors that I particularly like. I said earlier that part of growing is knowing what you don't like, not just knowing what you like, is knowing what you don't pay particular interest in. You understand? And I feel like for me, I'm drawn to bold colors like red, green. Sometimes I like blue. Sometimes I like mustard. I like gold a lot. I think that this year I'm open to trying some brighter colors. I recently worked with pink, you know. But understanding colors comes from being very deliberate about it before you shoot. Photoshop isn't going to fix your color problem. Your eye is what is going to fix your color problem. Your heart is what is going to fix your color problem. You need to conceive it in your heart. You need to be able to start to see it before you photograph it. That's the way it works for me.
What a fantastic answer. Thank you very much, Henry. And One thing I just wanted to pick up on there, and I'm very sorry obviously for the trauma and the pain that you have been through in your life. It's very, very sad, but it just feels like the fact that we could feel that through your work is literally why you are an artist, because you're clearly pouring yourself into your work. So if we can feel your feelings and your emotion through looking at your images, just shows how much of yourself you're putting into those images, and I think that's testament to you as an artist. You know, I'd love almost like to get to that point where someone could almost feel what I'm feeling through the work rather than through me. I think that's actually a huge compliment. But you know, it's very sad that you went through that. But the fact that we can feel it in the images is you know is very, very powerful. And I agree as well about the colors. It's really important to get
Thank
colors
you.
right because that can make or break an image. If we imagine some of the images that we've seen here with the completely different color palette, it's just not going to have the same impact, is it? So yeah, very, and it's
Yeah,
under.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
often considered too much the colors that we use, but you even talk like an artist in terms of your palette and the way that you know you're talking like you're using paint on a canvas, which is lovely.
yeah.
Um, so
Exactly,
what
exactly, exactly.
So I'm just going to go back to the comments again and just say we'll probably finish the stream in about 15 minutes or so. So if you do have any questions for Henry, please ask now. This is your chance to ask him, and I'll make sure that we share them. But again, to everybody watching, thank you for all the likes, all the comments. It's been an amazing stream, and it's yeah, I've been sharing so many. There's so many I can't even keep up. Um, but yeah, thank you for all that. We did have one question I was going to ask before. Oh yeah, somebody asked about how you trained your eyes to see colours, but I guess that comes just through style again. I tell you what, I will do. I'll ask the question that I was going to finish on just while we wait for questions to come through. And it's quite a big question, Henry, I'm afraid. And you've already mentioned, you probably already answered this before in the stream, but if I could just ask you, what advice, what would be the biggest piece of advice you could give to someone who is sat watching this stream now, looking at your work, thinking, I would like to get to, I know you're very humble and very modest, but I would like to get to the level that I see in Henry's work. I don't feel like I'm there yet. What would you advise them to do in order to set themselves going on that path?
I I have three things. Every time that I'm asked this question, I have three things. It's never changed, and even if I modify them and add other things, it's still under the umbrella of these three things. And number one, work extremely hard. And whether you're working extremely hard by practicing, burning the midnight candle, going out there, putting yourself out there, do that very well. But do not trust your hard work because ultimately, what I want is for God to give me favor and then I'm able to excel from that. Number two is build sustainable relationships with people because people matter. People are important. Whether you want to grow, you cannot grow without people. You heard me talk about my team. I talk about my team a lot, whether it is my current team or the people that have been there before me. I am a product of God's grace, but through people that He's put in my life. So people have helped me to grow, whether they are clients, whether they are family, whether they are my team members. People are very, very, very important. So work extremely hard, trust God, and ensure that you're building sustainable relationships with people. Do not be afraid to fail. Do not be afraid to try new things. Do not be or put yourself under pressure to be accepted by everybody. You can be different. The problem that we have in the creative industry sometimes is that everybody has the exact same voice. And when you have the exact same voice, it is hard for people to identify who is speaking because you all sound alike. But if everybody is doing one thing this way and you come out and do it this way, you are going to be identified easier than the people who are doing it like this, because there's something very, very different about you. So if you're going to be different, you have to not to be afraid to try new things. You have to go out there and keep practicing. You have to be sure that you don't want to be accepted by just about everybody, and you have to be committed to finding your style. And these are some of the things that I would like to share. Of course, there are so many other advice, but time will not permit. But these are some of the things that I'd like to share.
It's a stunning answer. I agree with every single word, and I hope that helps people who maybe are watching the stream and would like to follow that path. Yeah, your words are so inspiring, and I just feel like I'm just a student listening to my mentor speaking, and yeah, it's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A couple of questions we've got here. Very interesting question actually. How to succeed as a photographer if you're an introvert? Would you what? How would you describe yourself, Henry? Would you say you're an introvert or an extrovert? You're a very good communicator, but you could still
So it's
that's
funny that it's funny that he asked. It's funny that he asked that question, because what people don't know about me is that I am a loner. I like to be by myself. I'm the kind of person that I can stay in the house, give me internet, give me my good music, just leave me there, and I can be there for like a month and you will not know I'm in the house. Give me food, I'm okay. So, but when I have my camera, I feel like I'm a completely different person. You understand? So my default setting is that yes, I am an introvert. The only life that I have is the life of a photographer. I don't have a social life. I don't know that after work I have anywhere that I'm going to, or hanging out with friends or anything like that. It's work, home, and sometimes I meet my friends up and we just sit down and just talk in the office or anything like that. So I think that I'm an example of an introvert who is doing photography. However, there's a catch. The catch is that I was sharing this with somebody. People can easily forget how talented you are, but they will not forget your personality. So you need to have a personality that leaves a mark in the lives of people. It is that personality that also helps to create an experience when they come in for a photo shoot session. So, yes, be an introvert, there's nothing wrong with that. But understand the place of communication, understand the place of reaching out, understand the place of going out of your shell and reaching to people. You're going to have to learn to market your work. You're going to have to learn to put your work out there. You're going to have to learn to put yourself out there. You can't grow a business and say, oh, I don't like to go out. I don't like to, I'm just, no, 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 no. You need to learn to just come out and relate with people. Another thing is, you can't hate people and be a successful photographer, except you want to photograph abstract work, that's fine. But if you're going to succeed in the business of people, then you have to learn to love people. You understand? Eventually, people would see this love either through your work, through your kindness, through how you relate with them. So it's important. I'm not going to kick you because you're an introvert. I think it's fine. Everybody can be who they want to be. But I feel like at some point, you will need to step out of your shell and just reach out to people. You understand? And, after you take your pictures, you can go back and be an introvert. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, no, again, I can it resonates a lot with what you just said, Henry, to me, because I'm certainly an introvert as well. But I understand that in order to do the job that I do, I have to be able to come out of my shell, if you like, but then I'll retreat back, and then like you, I'll put my earphones in, I'll listen to my music and just do my own thing, and then build up my energy again. So it's really good to hear that you're similar actually. But I do think even if you are an introvert, that doesn't mean that you have to worry that you can't do the job. It just means that you need to try that a little bit harder, and then it becomes you'll get used to it, don't you? But you just need to give yourself then time to grow again.
Yes.
But yeah, I think a lot of
Yes.
photographers do tend to be
Yes.
introverts because this is very much an artistic pursuit, obviously, and
I
I
was
think
just
a lot of
about to say,
artists are.
yes. Yes. You need to you need to spend a lot of time by yourself. And that's where you also find growth and self-discovery. You need to spend a lot of time by yourself. So most artists tend to be introverts by default.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. And certainly my interaction with other photographers, I think, backs that up as well. Henry, I was going to ask you one more question that we've just had through, and then, oh, you go. Thank you. Just last question, I think, before we finish the stream. And, oh, Moira, another introvert. Yeah, team introvert, put your hands up. Okay, so the last question, Henry, if you don't mind, is, and it's a really good question. How do you build up confidence when you're with a client during a shoot? So I thought that's a really good question because everyone's often nervous when they just start that shoot, and how do you do that?
The first thing I want to say is that it is very okay to be nervous before a photo shoot. I've been shooting for 12 years. I am still nervous anytime I pick up my camera and I'm going to be photographing somebody that I have never met before. There are certain things that can make you nervous. The portfolio of the person can make you nervous. You understand? The face of the person can make you nervous. Whatever it is can make you nervous. And it's okay. I think that you would start to feel a lot freer when you realize that it's actually okay for you to be nervous before the shoot. Now, what is not okay is that you allow your lack of confidence to affect the way you approach the shoot or affect the type of work that you do. So you somehow need to be able to pick yourself back up. Now, clients are able to read this thing. So if you go there and you're fidgeting and you're nervous, you can almost pass off a message of, oh, this person doesn't know what they're doing or they can't do the work. At some point, you need to just learn to take charge. Let me tell you something that's going to help you build your confidence. Practice, getting better. Continue to do that thing. Continue to create awesome and amazing work. And you need to learn to give yourself pep talks sometimes. You need to learn to just beef up your own energy. My name is Henry. My name is Ijoma. I got this. I am the ish. People love my work. I love my work. You need to be able to just speak positive things to yourself and take yourself away from that gloomy place where you're always feeling like, oh, I can't do this, da 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 da. I think they call it imposter syndrome. And I was listening to Sue Bryce recently, and she said that one of the antidotes to imposter syndrome is becoming a master of your work. You need to take your work to that place where you own that work, you own that level. You haven't spent 5 years or 6 years or 10 years doing that work to become timid. You understand? There's a reason why they even trusted you in the first place. So you need to believe more in yourself and know that the reason why that client who you are not very sure of has come to hire you is because they believe that you can do the work. So make them, not regret their decision to hire you. I don't know if I did justice to that question, but
Oh,
yeah,
you
that's the
really
best I
did.
could do.
I'm just sat back, just taking all this in and learning so much. This has been, Henry, like a masterclass, not just in photography but in life, and I just can't thank you enough. It's been absolutely amazing. Very very last question because we've had it a few times, and I
Thank
think
you
it's a
so
good
much.
one. It's a much easier question. What kind of music, Henry, do you like to listen to when you're shooting? And because I'm asking this question because I'm going to listen to this afterwards. I want to learn
so,
about Nigerian
um,
music.
so I think it's important to know that I used to be in the choir in church, so I used to sing a lot, and music is very very important to me. So when I'm creating images, the wrong kind of music can put me off. You understand? So I'm very particular about who is playing the song. So I tend to want to control the music, especially when I'm creating fine art images. If I'm shooting a fashion lookbook or just creating normal pictures, I can play music that the client wants. So something a little bit more upbeat. So let me sell some Nigerian artists to you.
Yes,
Burna
please.
Boy, Whiskey, Davido, Ashake, all those guys. Yes, those are the type of people that you can listen to when I'm not really creating anything. But when it comes to creating art, I listen to a guy called Dappy T Keys. on YouTube who plays a lot of soothing, calming gospel instruments. You understand? And it just puts me in the right place to create. That's number one. The second person I listen to is a guy called Jacob's Piano. Now, I don't know him personally, but he plays songs from Lo Da Vinci and some of all these great composers. I tend to just want to stay calm and be in the right headspace. So, a lot of my music, when I'm creating, 90% of it is just instruments. If I am not listening to instruments, I'm listening to gospel music.
I love that, and I promise I will listen to some of these artists that you just mentioned, Henry, and hopefully it will seep into me, and then I'll gain some of your
No problem.
superpowers as well. But honestly, if it works, it's worth a try. But honestly, Henry, on behalf
we
of
will try it in
Helen,
September when I come to Manchester.
exactly. Oh, we'll have a big party then, and we'll hear you sing. Yeah, on behalf of myself, Helen, the whole of the
Yes.
Flashmasters community, and everybody who is watching, thank you so, so much. This has been incredible. I wanted this stream to be seen
Thank
by
you
as
very
many
much.
people as possible
Thank you.
because no, my pleasure. Because I knew that people would take so much from this, not just from the photography side, which has been incredible, but the life lessons and the belief and the lessons that you've taught us about how we can grow as photographers, how we can develop our style, and how we can enjoy photography, which will then mean that we enjoy our lives. And it's been incredible for that. I literally just listened, like I've just been listening, just like listening up to these amazing words from yourself, and we are forever thankful for this stream, but also for you becoming an ambassador and joining us in the community. We can't wait to see what more we can learn from you. And I
Thank
also will promise that we will do our best. Henry and I
thank
will
you.
talk about maybe seeing if he can come over and teach in person in the UK. That would be an incredible thing, and I would love to do that. I know that Helen would. I'm sure that all of our community would
No
love that
problem.
as well. So yeah, Henry, on behalf of everybody watching, thank you so
No
much.
problem.
It's
Thank you very much, Neil. Thank you. Thank you to everyone on the Flashmasters team. Thank you to Helen. I know she's there. Thank you, Helen.
She is.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you to all the ambassadors. Thank you to everybody who tuned in, everyone who tuned in to watch and support. Thank you to all the people from Nigeria who are watching and everyone all over the world. Thank you for asking all your 1 million questions. Thank you for commenting. If you watched from the very beginning to the end and you've been here, thank you for staying to the end. If you just joined, thank you for joining. Thank you, God. Thank you, everyone, for making this possible. I am deeply grateful, but I think that the most important thing that I want to say is that, you know, the work is just about to start. Myself and Neil would get talking, and we would see all the different things that we can bring to the photography community, so that people can learn so much from Neil, from Helen, from myself, and I am really looking forward to doing something with you guys in September when I come.
We would love that. We would love that. Honestly, well, we won't say it again, but we are so grateful for everything you've done to help us, Henry. And yeah, we're looking forward to this journey. We love you lots, and we can't wait to see where we all travel to together. So, yeah, thank you again for joining everyone, and
Thank you.
yeah, we will see you soon. Thank you, Henry.